Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to talk about the update 151 that dropped today, and it actually has some big balance adjustments in general. But first and foremost, Void Eye buffs. Belek already mentioned something like this in the week before, and it's just due to the fact that the Void Eye is underperforming in pretty much every MMR range, which is usually something that happens with new units because they learned about the Raiden disaster where were too much power in that unit and they had to be nerfed right after launch, and now they are rather launching with underpowered units and then buffing them up to the level where they feel they need to be afterwards. So the first change is a HP increase by 30%, so a massive amount of percentage. However, since the unit is very squishy in the first place, this is barely 150 to the 1000 and then maybe 250 if you're generous. Something like a crawler's worth of HP of a buff. Now that also means that there's some breaking points. The Tarantulas will not kill him as easily. The Arclight will take an additional shot, which is big. And also the Hounds will take one more shot to get the Void Eyes down. This also means it's going to be more resistant against fire on the ground, like Napalm Bomb from the Vulkans. And also at level 3, you don't get one shot by Missile Strike anyway, because it is a 3k damage spell, and now you have 3.3 almost in that case, and you will not get one shot. So that's a very good change, because there was a double level 3 Void Eye drop in the game that feels pretty bad getting killed by a spell that is for free or even on a spec that can punish you quite hard, especially if you want to take to the air later, since you cannot dodge those anymore. The second change is a very interesting one, and it involves suppression shots. Now, suppression shots usually does the following. If you hit an enemy unit with your attacks, he will get a reduced range for 2 seconds, which wasn't a very good upgrade in the first place, but it only costs 150 credits. And now it also increased the Void Eyes range by 15, which means it changes a lot in the matchups in the mid-range area. Now, don't get me wrong, this still doesn't do anything against Stormcallers and Marksmen and all the long-range matchups. However, it means that the Void Eye can stay behind the chaff-claiming units easier. Like the Arclight, like the Spider, it has a better matchup against those and will also use those as a tank. So this will also increase its survivability against something like a Stormcaller, for example, where it would get splashed while the Tarantula was getting targeted and just dying in the process without even being necessarily that far away or that close. Just because they walk into the unit pretty much instead of staying away from the different times. So the first thing we take a look at is Arclight versus a suppression shot Void Eye, and you can see here it gets one shot before it even gets into range, and even if it didn't get one shot, it would get its range reduced with the suppression shots and wouldn't be able to attack them. So this is a big winning matchup for the Void Eye, and also makes it more likely to work with an Arclight together, since it's 133 range against 145 now. So they will always stay a little bit behind those Arclights and not get targeted as easily in general, and they have a better counter matchup into killing those in the first place. Next up is the matchup against the Tarantula. Same deal here, reducing the rage rather early, but then it comes back up and fires 2 shots, which doesn't kill those Void Eyes now. And the Tarantula almost loses that fight. It's very close. It's also a unit that got nerfed this patch, reducing its HP by 5%. But I think Void Eye is actually very good with this change into Tarantula, because they can almost solo that thing without any support. If there was one crawler here, they probably would win this matchup right away. And I think that's pretty impressive, considering this unit is a rather expensive one and even takes into account the upgrade you just took, pretty much point for point or deploy for deploy. Now, Mustangs also do take more time to kill them, but as you can see here, that's not the issue. the time to kill of the Mustang is high enough still to kill all the Void Eyes because the fire rate is just too slow. That's an inherent problem of that unit that doesn't get changed by this at all, I would say. Coming up next, the Vulkan, a very terrible matchup for the Void Eyes in general. As you can see here, the suppression shots will take the Vulkan out, but in between the reload time, the 3.5 seconds, is a 1.5 second non-range reduction, which means the Vulkan will still beat them rather easily because of the high AoE damage he does. However, you saw it took him some time to kill those Void Eyes now, because he has a very high attack rate, so every hit point counts, and it means he needs 3 more hits to kill them and a 4th to get over the edge. So it's a 0.3 or 0.4, depends how damaged they were before change. And also the incendiary bomb itself is something that would usually be pretty decent against those Void Eyes, because the Void Eyes will die to the fire rather quickly. So if we take a look at that real quick, we'll just see how the survivability in the fire is now, considering they are that very expensive unit. And as you can see here, they catch some stray shots, but they are not that low that they can't fight anymore, and will probably even take another shot to get killed, even with the fire upgrades here. So it just makes them a tad more resistant to getting killed by random AoE effects that weren't even aiming at them in the first place. And talking about random AoE effects, here we see a Tarantula getting targeted by the Stormcaller, and with the additional range, they do actually not get killed by the Stormcaller in the first volley, which they always would have in case that was splashing on the Tarantula. So it makes them a little bit more survivable, but they will still die rather quickly to true AoE like the Stormcaller, but will not catch any stray bullets from a sledgehammer explosion, for example, where the splash hits the center of the Tarantula, and they will be staying right here pretty much. So that's where the 15 range is actually a pretty big change to their survivability, staying behind their tanks where they are supposed to be. Now, in terms of the other changes in the matchups, the Wraith matchup is still terrible. Doesn't matter at all with the suppression shots. It will still get in and kill them. You need EMP to stop him, and if he gets photon coating, you will most likely lose. So either you're one-shotting the Wraith or he will kill you. That's pretty much the gist of the Wraith matchup, even with this change. Not too much difference there. Not even with the HP buff. It will still one-shot them in one volley, and then the last Void Eye will take one hit. But there was also a nerf in this package. The area mode has been increased from 150 to 200, probably to prevent air cheese from happening. And they're a little bit worried about that new mode being a little bit oppressive. I think it can be a good tempo play, but I wouldn't actually think that the area mode price increase is warranted here, since the unit already needs range, and then adds aerial mode on top of that, and is still, I don't think, a very strong unit in that regard, because it will get killed by Fortress anti-air. It will get targeted by specific range increases from area specs, from Mustangs and Marksmen and whatnot. So it makes it a lot more susceptible to all kinds of damage in general. So I don't think if I agree with that change necessarily. Then scrolling down here, as we already saw, the Tarantula has a 5% HP decrease, which I think is fair, because the Tarantula is overperforming a little bit in the mid-range pretty much. And one of the main issues with the Tarantula is not its chaff clearing capabilities or anything like that. They are very good, don't get me wrong, but there is some boss that can't handle Tarantulas early game just because of their huge HP pool. They are pretty much like the original Sabertooth in that regard, and since they are also a chaff clearing unit, it makes them way stronger against these kind of units. in the early game at least. And then the next one, a very interesting one, Phoenix has a 3% decrease to both its HP and attack. And note says it has been strong in high MMR for some time, which is true. Although I would add that is not in general the case. I would say in standard versus standard, it's not an issue at all. It's more likely the aggro matchups that make the Phoenix strong, where you need units that fly quickly and reposition much easier than the marksman, and are also two units in a pack instead of just one with the marksman, just way higher DPS and whatnot. Will this change much? I don't think so. I think the HP nerf is too low to even get it. And attack hurts the Phoenix for sure, but since it has a gigantic attack in the first place, I don't think it changes much in that kind of just normal stat department. But I think I like this. I would rather have them nerf the Phoenix multiple times than go overboard with them. I think small changes, but change quite often, is way better than big changes and just trying to get everything done in one single go. I think usually that backfires pretty heavily. Yeah, the next one is a completely random one. The Stormcaller gets high explosive anti-tank shells buffed. In case you don't know what that is, because nobody's ever playing this upgrade, it's a way to nerf your Stormcaller in shooting even slower than before the nerf, and you get increased damage. Now, where's the problem with that? First of all, it is a upgrade that costs you. So if you want to invest more into Stormcallers, every other upgrade will be more expensive. And a Stormcaller pretty much always has the ability to level up. That's just the name of the game of the unit. So if you want to have increased damage on your Stormcallers, you could just upgrade your 2 of them and get double HP as well without the attack interval nerf. And the main reason why nobody is using this in the first place is most likely because the Stormcaller does get countered by Missile Interceptor very hard, and shooting even slower is not going to make it any easier for your Stormcaller to actually get stuff done. So I think the price decrease is nice, but I think this tech needs some serious buffs. It needs something like make the missiles more beefy so they can't be intercepted as easily. Then I would call this a okay upgrade. But as is, I would not take it even if it was completely for free. I think this is not something you should ever have on your bar, no matter if you're a Stormcaller enjoy or not. Next one, also a pretty random one, but something I really like. Armor-piercing bullets on the fangs, 250 to 150. So a minus 100 credit buff. Now, armor-piercing bullets right now are not very relevant. Why? Because a carry fang is the only thing that needs armor-piercing bullets. Or maybe a range armor-piercing bullet fang to intercept wasp play. Why is it not played? The issue is the nerfs to the Fort and the Fang production, and some other changes with a lot of early game chaff, a lot of fire in the game, means the carry Fang is pretty weak right now. It's not getting any play. But if you want to get into it, armor-piercing bullets was actually something that was rather hard to get, since you were running range and mechanical rage first, and then maybe armor-piercing bullets later, which means now it's easier to get in there. However, for everything else, I would still argue that Fang Shield is just too strong to skip, and Ignite, probably also getting buffed by the last patch, makes Ignite just a better overall upgrade in general. However, I have been a proponent of kicking out Mech Rage and adding armor-piercing bullets anyway, because if you're playing Standard and you don't play Carry Fang, there's never a reason to get Mechanical Rage on Fangs in the first place. So this is actually a buff for my own build, but for many people it's not going to be as relevant, I think. Next one, also in the same range, by the way, 250 to 200 for Mechanical Rage on Sandworms. I think the only reason I would take a Mechanical Rage on the Sandworm is in a Sandworm Mirror, maybe Sandworm into Factory, which is a bad matchup in the first place. And the increase in speed with the Mech Rage often means that the sandworm arrives a little bit too early if you click it. So this has to be considered pretty heavily. And in my opinion, Mechanical Rage doesn't fit in the bar in the first place. We have too many good techs on the sandworm to actually care about Mechanical Rage, just like the effect with the Rhino and all those type of units. So I think maybe a good change, but I think irrelevant to the current meta on how it's played. Then the variants. The range bonus of Improved Wasp, with a P by the way, has been reduced from 20 to 10. I think that's a great change because Improved Wasp was the one big outlier in terms of getting massive buffs to just the stat line. In general, attack and HP, but then also getting a 20 range increase, which is a really, really big thing on something like a Wasp, since the range is one of the few things that the Wasp does not have. Now, I think, and generally speaking, that's a very good change, especially if you take Improved Wasp to make your Overlord spawned Wasp stronger, which I found very weird because that plays around the Improved Wasp cost increase. And now you still get a boatload of stats, and if you want to play them, but you lose 10 of your range, which I think is still a pickable card. I like this change more than the improved Melta change that they did last time. So good job on that one. It still would reverse some of the improved Melta nerfs, because that was not a good change, I think. Now, the attack bonus of Improved Phoenix has also been reduced from 50% to 20%. Why is that? Because Improved Phoenix has a very high win rate. Now, I don't know about you. I think I've seen Improved Phoenix maybe 10 times in my whole match history. And it has been strong. But if you can go for Improved Phoenixes, your game is probably going pretty well. And I think the improved win rate of Improved Phoenix is not very reflective of the upgrade itself. It's still very wonky because it makes the Phoenix very, very tanky. And you're already nerfing the stat line. So I'm not sure if this is fine. I think Improved Phoenix is catching a stray here, and mass-produced Phoenix is not getting a change. I think mass-produced Phoenix is much more of an offender than Improved Phoenix is ever, just because of the rate of play. Not because the card might be broken or not. I can't tell because I never see it. And then last but not least, the Specialist, also a spelling error by the way, but the Training Specialist player's HP bonus is getting buffed by 200, going up from 100 to 300, which means it's one of the weakest win rate Specialist. And why is that? Because it's very high rolly. It can be very, very good if you get a Wraith or a Worm drop early. You have your training spec and you get a huge item in the after drop. That's where training spec is really oppressive and very unfun to play against. And any other case, oftentimes you can't leverage the training spec money very well in the first turn. That might be an issue. Or you don't have enough money to use the upgrades anyway. Most of the time your unit should be performing well and you need more money, not necessarily more XP on a unit. So I think that HP bonus change is okay, because you are sitting there and waiting for a unit to drop and actually profit from those training spec specific bonuses. So I think that's a decent change. And then last but not least, another buff to Void Eye, because for some reasons they had a 0.5 seconds attack delay for some reason, which was pretty annoying because the retargeting when a unit that they wanted to shoot at just dies from a different source of damage. They would sometimes get stunned and then actually switch targets, just like a wind up on a hacker attack would work. Very similar problem to that intended, I guess, mechanic that the hacker has. So that's going to be making a pretty big difference, because the Void Eyes will just be shooting faster in general, even though the attack interval didn't change. It was just lower than it should have been in the first place, and I think you should always fix things like that. Okay, so in conclusion, Void Eyes, I think, way better now. have some more late game options, which is important for the unit, and also a lot of more survivability into normal medium-sized units. Big nerf for the improved Wasp and Phoenix cards in general, and some minor pretty weird buffs here in between with the Sandworm, Fang, and Stormcaller, and a tiny nerf on the Phoenix, and I think rather sizable one on the HP of the Tarantula, since it's a unit that has been played very much. I think I like the changes in general, and I think there needs to be some reworking be done with some of those units and offenders here. I don't think the stats are necessarily the issue at the root of the problem. All right. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, please leave me a like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Bye bye.